Welcome to the Imperfectly Empowered podcast with leading DIY lifestyle blogger Anna Fulmer, where women are inspired with authentic stories and practical strategies to reclaim their hearts and homes by empowering transformation, one imperfect day at a time.
Welcome back to another episode of the Imperfectly Empowered podcast. I am your host, Anna Fulmer. Today, I am introducing you to a power couple. They were the first to bring the original isopropyl alcohol personal fireplace into our homes. From a small apartment dream to a multi-million-dollar reality, Travis and Haley Seera are now the COO and CEO of FLÍKR Fire. They are passionate about inspiring others to relax and dream with their own FLÍKR Fire moments. Welcome the dreaming and doing power couple who were the first to bring the tabletop fireplace into our homes, Travis and Haley Seera. Hey, friends.
Good morning.
How's it going?
Good morning. You guys look so cute.
It's good to see you. So right there.
Yeah, right there.
Nice.
There it is. We're having our own FLÍKR Fire moment here. Well, Travis and Haley Seera, welcome to the Imperfectly Empowered podcast. It's so fun to have two people on an interview. Usually it's just me and one other person. So this is exciting.
Thank you so much. Yeah, we're excited to be here.
Yeah. And I have to point out for people watching, this back here is the little guy that we will be talking about today. This is the FLÍKR Fire.
I love that you call it the little guy. We call these things this wee little fireplace, this wee little thing all the time. So I like you're on board with that.
Yeah, I love it. Well, we may have a live demonstration later. This will be live fire or a live demonstration. So hopefully I don't burn down my house.
He go handle it.
Yeah. So I want to start back to the beginning because the story really started in your apartment is what I understand, Travis. This was sort of your brainchild. So we have to press rewind and go back. What was it? 10 years now? It was some time ago.
Yeah, it would have been probably 2010. It's almost 11 years now. I was living in Seattle. I was a high-rise window cleaner. And Seattle is kind of cold and gray, as a lot of people know. And I miss the ambiance of my childhood, the fireplace in my childhood home. I really miss that. And I thought, I want to get that. And how can I get that in my third floor, 700 square foot apartment in Seattle? And so started looking around at some different options, and most of the little ventless fireplaces that were available on the market they ran on a bioethanol, gelled ethanol, something you had to order. And I thought, there's got to be an easier way to do this out of a common fuel. And I don't know about you, but sometimes you'll see something and you're like, oh, I could do that for a lot cheaper and a lot quicker. And then,
have you looked at my blog? You're talking to the right person. Yes.
Yeah.
Amen.
It's years later and many thousands of dollars later, you're like, I probably could have saved money and a lot of effort had I just bought the thing. But it worked well. We ended up with this little guy that runs on rubbing alcohol, and it's just kind of hobby for many years. But all out of that initial desire, mass sales were never the goal. The goal was I saw a need for myself, so I did my best to fill it.
Well, I resonate with this on several levels because one, I absolutely love fireplaces. And what's funny is you're talking about how you look at something and you're like, oh, I can do this for cheaper. We've renovated 3 houses now, and I love fireplaces so much that I have designed into every single house a fireplace. And I mean, like finagling bits and pieces here and there. I would take apart kits to create a fireplace. So I definitely understand that on multiple levels. And some of my ideas absolutely did not work.
Yeah.
But the concept of creating, I think, is the other piece that I'm resonating with here. Has that always been part of your character, just inherent to who you are? Haley's nodding back there in the background. Yeah. Have you always been a creator, somebody who says, I would like to make this happen and I'm going to try to put these pieces together to do it. Have you always been that way, or is that something that's transpired over time?
I have. It's funny. I think at a 30,000 foot view, when you look back at life, I can say, I've always been hands-on. I can look at a lot of things I did. We did not grow up wealthy by any means. My dad was a school teacher, my mom raising 3 kids, and in the country here in Tennessee. And I remember one time in high school, I did not have fashion at all. We could not afford the cool latest and greatest. And I had this one pair of jeans, and I'd look at other kids' pairs of jeans, and like they had cool patches on them, or like a big leather label or something on the back. And I remember going home and asking mom if she'd teach me how to sew, because my dad used to work in textiles, and so we'd have this big bin of leather randomly, scraps. And so I'm like, ooh, I want to do that. Like, I can try to make something cool. And
right.
It's funny is, I look back at that and I think, does that mean I wanted to be a fashion designer? No, not at all. But I think I loved working my hands, and I liked, it was just simple problem solving. And I'm like, well, yeah, I can do that. And it's kind of scratches that creative itch. So yeah, I think it just in general in life, I remember I bought my very first motorcycle, this old beat up thing. I remember staring at it in the garage. I was so proud of it. And I was staring at the garage one time, and I looked at the back and I was like, why is there's this massive blinker over here, and then 2 feet over here, there's another huge blinker in this. And I was like, why is all this so big? It's cluttered and I don't like it visually. Yeah. So I bought a manual and started taking it apart. I'm just like, why? Yeah. We say often in our business here, progress is made by the discontent, and it's a healthy discontent. It's right. You, for instance, it sounds like you're discontent without a fire. So you're going to figure out how to get a fire.
Exactly right. Santa needs a fireplace mantle we need stockings for him to put. Seriously, exactly. It's so weird. Like, I can't do stockings on a stair rail. That's no good. It takes away all of the magic. And I have to ask, did you DIY your own leather pants for your motorcycle? Because I'm hearing a theme here.
By that time, no. And that
is unfortunate. I think that could have been like a new market for you.
Oh boy.
Your own leather patched motorcycle pants.
I can take that in a lot of directions, and I will refrain. Yeah. Yeah.
Haley, you came into this journey a little bit later. So tell me a little bit because Travis, you were kind of in the process of creating this product. At what point, Haley, did you meet Travis? Where were you at in this journey in terms of like the product?
So in, was it 2018? I get my years confused. Yeah. So in about like February, March of 2018, I moved back to Tennessee, and I was working for REI at the time, running outdoor programs, marketing, and events. And we were doing a big grand opening here in Chattanooga, and I was throwing multiple different events and wanting to have s'mores at all of the events to kind of tie back into like a camping theme. And one of the venues I chose wouldn't let us have like fire pits or anything. And I happened to know someone that had seen him at like a little holiday market here in Chattanooga. So at the point I met him, he had done 1 or 2 little like holiday pop-ups, and sold like 90 fireplaces, 100 fireplaces, something like that. And thought like, oh, wow, like people really like it. I should file as an LLC. So he became an LLC January of 2018. And then I reached out to him in March. So just 2 months later. And it was super funny because I emailed him, and I'm just asking him like liability questions, like, can I rent these? Do I have to buy them? What's bulk pricing? Blah, blah, blah. And like super just professional. And I get an email back, and it was literally like, hello, Miss REI. Like, my day was just made, and just on. On and on and on. And
my day was just made by your liability questions. Yeah. This is a great pickup line.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
Take notes.
And I figured he like had a storefront. Like, I had no idea that he lived in the middle of nowhere and was making these in his little garage or anything. And so we met up at like a local furniture store that did sell them at the time, so that he could, his like one retailer, so that he could show me. And then we ended up chatting for like 4 hours. And I I remember walking away from the conversation and calling my mom and being like, oh my goodness, I just met this guy and he has this amazing product and literally no clue what to do with the business. Like, I want to help run his business. So that's how we met, and we started dating a few months later.
Yep.
And then kicked off doing like wholesale shows. And then that's where the business really took off. And we got married a year later, and I quit my job and was full time. So
I love that. So this, for reference, this was like 3 years ago.
Yes.
Yep.
Approximately. Yeah. Okay. So I have to ask, because I mean, this is such a unique situation in that, there's a lot of couples that work together, but this is an interesting dynamic because Travis, you're the creator, but didn't really know how to launch it from like a business standpoint.
Right.
And then Haley, you come in. Tell me a little bit about how that communication worked between you guys, because there had to be some, we're all about like real talk here. And the fact is, you're probably starting a relationship here, whether you admit it or not at some point in there. So it's like a personal relationship, but then also a professional one where Haley, at some point you have to come in and be like, nope, what you're doing is bad. This is what we need to do. Tell me, like, what are some of, and maybe you still have these learning curves as we all do, but tell me about some of those moments where there had to be some headbutting. I mean, tell me about what that process was like and how you worked through those conversations and that dynamic, because it's unusual.
Oh, for sure. So I would say every year has been significantly different. So like the first year I was still working for REI full time, but he had created me an email address. He was actually paying me a little bit. And that was like, I think we almost did best in that because it was very much like his thing, but I was like coming along and supporting, and then giving my advice and expertise I did have and like certain areas of things from just retail experience and business management and stuff. And so that I feel like we did pretty well the first year. And then the second year, like me quitting my job and career to focus on his, I think was super hard for me initially because it was like, I didn't want to step on his toes. Like I didn't want to come in and just start taking everything over on the business front and be like, you were doing all this wrong. But like, he wasn't even on QuickBooks. Like, I mean, there was no record of anything. Taxes weren't being paid. Like, it was a mess.
I was paying my taxes.
Travis, go ahead.
It might have been a little late, but I was paying my taxes.
Like, it was quite a mess. But I remember being super hesitant. Like I felt like I had to run everything by. And initially too, that like second year, we were fully I was in the shop with him manufacturing every day. So I would help him and have my hands in cement and be packaging and then be back in the little office doing emails. But it took me quite a few months of being like, do you want to be on this call with me? What do you think about this? Are you okay if I do this? Because I still felt like it was like just a touchy thing of like going to taking over. And then I think finally when I felt like he gave me the reins and was like, hey, that's your side of the business. Like the business is your baby. The product is my baby. I think we definitely divided and conquered really well, but I think that's almost when more of the conflict and learning how to communicate actually came in even more, even though it would seem like we now have our roles and it's more clear. I think it actually got more complicated. But I don't know it. Yeah. And that's kind of where we're at now. Because Travis' role has really changed over the years. He was always hands-on manufacturing. And as of January of this past year, so it's almost been a year, he has not had to do any manufacturing. We've outsourced that to his brother's company, but it's not his responsibility anymore. And so he's more new product development, research and development, that type of thing. So it's a little more. And that's
where some of the conversation can get tense is I know she put it well. Hey, was just telling me a couple months ago, she's like, I think some of our problem is, ish about my world and what I do because I tell you and you're not stupid. And I know ish about manufacturing because I was there and I did it back in the day, even though I don't know as much as you know. And so it's almost like we both know enough to be dangerous in the other person's realm. And so she'll say something and I'm like, yeah, but what about that? And now the what about that might be relevant, but she's worked past that a long time ago. And so now I think what can go on in her mind, and honestly the same in my mind is, I'm going to have to catch you up because what you said is a legitimate question, It's a good question to ask, but I've already solved that question. And I really don't want to take the time catching you up on that question because there's really no point. And then
well, and what was hard too for a while is everything he does on the design side, on the manufacturing side, back in the day, everything he does affects me. Yep. So I need to be in the know. However, nothing I do affects him as far as like his role in the position. So he comes home and he wants to talk about work and wants to hear about all the things. And I'm like, I don't need to tell you. like I'm done working. And it just, I think, it's been like a hard, and I think, you know, we've long ago realized the business is my baby, the product is his baby. But I think with the business being my baby and with my personality, I need to work 8 to 5 and then cut it off and shut it down and really protect my evenings and protect my weekends and not talk about it. Whereas for him, it could be 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock at night. And he's like, oh, I had this amazing idea. And it might be an idea that's in his field of design and creativeness, but it affects my world. And so quickly, I think we went from back in the day, me being able to listen and like ideate with him to me being like, whoa, no. Now I'm stepping into like work mode. And so either you're going to get work, Haley, and I'm going to be grumpy because it's after hours. Or we need to shut this conversation down now and talk in the morning.
And in the real talk version of that, you know, if you want the real talk, I think in many ways, this is my wife. And I want to come home and share my day at work with my wife. And I've got this super exciting idea about this thing that happens to be work. But it's so exciting. I want to tell my wife, my significant other, this person I love and I'm friends with.
Right.
And then she shuts it down because she's running through her mind. You're trying to add like 7 SKUs.
Yeah.
We need to buy the SKUs, design the SKUs, get them on boxes, buy stickers for the SKUs, rearrange all our back-end porters.
Come up with a launch plan, rearrange all the drop shipping.
Yeah.
And I'm like, what are you talking about? I said,
this is just an idea.
Like what? I'm just ideating here. Like, what's your problem? And so I get it. Moments. And I think a lot of it has made us examine, you know, from the very beginning of our relationship, there was FLÍKR. The name from day one, there was our product FLÍKR. And so
you kind of had a baby before you even got married. It was like the baby already existed and then you got married. Yeah,
exactly. And it's like, we even knew like, oh, we have this thing. We both enjoy rock climbing. We both like biking. We both like hiking. We both enjoy doing similar things. And it wasn't until this year that we even did a couple of those things for the first time because the business was always priority. Yeah.
And it's my dad built our childhood home. And he always told me that the home you build yourself is never finished. You're always going to add on this or redo that. And I think it's the business you own yourself it's never done. You're always progressing it, always changing it, always adapting to the market or whatever you want to be doing. And I think for me too, it is my baby in the sense that I can be at the shop all day long and I can come home and start designing on my laptop and I'm happy as a duck.
Yeah.
I am thrilled. She's like, are you serious? Just put your laptop down. This is not work time. And I'm like, I'm unwinding. I don't know what you're doing.
It's also the nature of our different tasks.
Yeah.
Well, I get it. I get it. I'm resonating actually. Yes. I resonate with you, Travis, because in some ways, I think my husband's probably a little bit more like Haley and I'm probably a little bit more like you, where my brain never stops. I'm constantly thinking about the next project and I enjoy it. It doesn't like pull me down. It kind of brings me life. I get excited about it. But my husband, when I mention something, he already sees a to-do list and the to-do list feels a little overwhelming. He's like, wait, I already did a to-do list. Like I'm ready now to just relax. I just want to have fun. I don't want to be thinking about where for me, it's easy for it to I am constantly creating in my head and I can have 5 million creation tabs open at one time and I don't need to close them before I start another one. So I very much resonate with what you're saying. And I think it's hard. How have you're just now finally able to start enjoying the fruits of your labors, hiking, and what kinds of things do you guys like to do together? And have you learned to prioritize, all right, when we go on a hike, we're not going to talk about work, Or like, have you been?
I'm good at saying that.
She shuts it down quick.
She
shuts it down real quick. She goes, okay, we're going to go out to, and what's funny is we're
going out to dinner, no business talk.
We enjoy food. We enjoy good food. And she's an incredible cook. We're often here, but especially after a very long day, she's like, oh my word, let's just go get something. But, and so it's something we enjoy together. It's not as unique or outdoorsy as cycling or something, but she'll say, okay, no work talk at all. And that's really tough because I'm like, oh babe, so I did this really cool.
Yeah. But also,
never mind.
But also we have to have like a more like serious work talk. We like doing it out like that as well. So we definitely use that time. But I think often it's like we could be hiking, doing something fun. We were mountain biking a few weeks ago in northern Michigan, and he's in front of me multiple feet, and we're talking about work. Like,
right.
And it was work hours. So I'm like, okay, whatever. But I think also it just gets
time boxing.
Yeah. Yeah. I think our communication styles are very different. And so that's where, especially when I'm not in like, let's sit down and actually be mentally like ready for this work talk with our communication styles, we've learned we're often on the same page actually, or we're saying the same thing, but I come at it from one direction and he comes in entirely.
Amen. My husband listening to this.
Like,
I get it. We fight for like 20 minutes. And then at the end of the 20 minutes, I'm like, I think we're saying the same thing.
Yeah.
We just wasted 20 minutes yelling at each other, not really yelling, but having this heated debate when at the end of the day, we're saying the same
thing. Yeah.
It's like we always end up at M or whatever the middle letter of the alphabet is, but I came from A, he came from Z. And
totally get it.
Yeah. It's wildly, but I think time boxing has helped. We're going to say, okay, we're going to go to dinner, and during this time span of dinner, we're going to talk about this work stuff. She has an agenda laid out. You talk about it over dinner, and then you're done. Period. Once we get home, no more of that. And so I think there's times that say, let's take a mountain bike ride, and we're going to talk about it on the mountain bike ride or not.
We've also gotten into golfing recently, which has been fun. And you're so spread out, you can't really talk.
It will
like, this is great. We can talk.
Right. And I have definitely had to learn. I've learned a lot. I've heard to learn a lot.
I'm with you there.
I think just even in business, because there's times where it is my baby, but now it's a shared baby, and really the business wouldn't be where it is without Haley. And so then at times it's I don't feel needed, because her job now is wildly needed. Now that we've outsourced production, I don't feel needed. So then I'm still working, I'm still progressing, but at my validation as a man, I mean, whatever that is, even from my wife, it can feel lacking at times, because I'm like, why do I exist? And what am I doing? What's the whole point of this? So
and when you're a creator at heart, and you are a go-getter, you that empty space is like, I have to fill it with something. I need a new challenge. I need and for our spouses, that can feel very overwhelming, because you're like, oh yeah, well, wait, we just did all of this.
Right. And she's like, okay, once we hand over manufacturing, you are not going to sit around the house, because I'm in the house in my office, and I do not want you walking in every 5 minutes, giving me a hug or something, because you're bored.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I shut my office door. I'm like,
that's really funny.
And I'm like, honey, I love you. I love you.
I'm working.
I love you.
He'll walk past my office, open the door to say he loves me, and like literally 20 minutes later, it registers in my brain, and I'm like, oh, I love you too.
Okay, now I can resonate with that. Actually, I understand that. Yeah.
I do think though it is something I've noticed recently about Travis, about him being, as we were talking earlier, very hands-on and needing to like build and make and do things with his hands, but also being creative, is that I think we also both thought that this year would be like, oh, like Travis is in his sweet spot of his job is research and development. It's just pulling that creativeness. But I think we've both realized that he actually really also needs very hands-on, like manual work as well, to let the creativeness really
so people
flourish and happen.
I don't think, we'll be at a show, and sometimes people will look at me and they say, oh, wow, you invented this and you made this. And it's a little, no man's an island. And I think we none of us design in a vacuum very well. And maybe the lack of, maybe it's an online blog you're reading, maybe it's, Pinterest boards, Google Images, but you're always getting ideas, or you're talking with somebody about ideas. I think very few, if anyone, designs on an island. And so I can look at the history even of the company, and to say we're self-made, I think is unbelievably arrogant and short-sighted. I look at my dad, when I was starting this, my dad bought me a welder, and guy couldn't afford it. Bought me a welder. Had he not bought that welder, I wouldn't have been able to build the tables we were manufacturing on.
Yeah.
And you see just this chain of people in your life who, wow, if it really wasn't for that thing, that enabled me to dilly-dally with a side project in my home, in my garage, I never could have launched this. And so I think design-wise as well, even the concepts of boundaries are really helpful. In a budget can seem like, oh, this thinks I have to be on a budget. But I think really it actually frees you up, because you don't have to worry about it. And so I think for me, saying, Travis, go design 10 hours a day, have a blast. And I wake up, I'm like, well,
what do I do?
Yeah.
And so
need a little more structure.
Yeah. So we're getting that. And we've been working actually with my brother's manufacturing company, and kind of the guy who heads up our FLÍKR production area. A lot more conversations with him, diving in really well with that, and a lot of back and forth. He's got a 200,000 square foot manufacturing facility that does myriad and sundry things. But I am the guy, I think half of them don't know who I am. I'm just the random guy who's not dressed like an employee. And I'm walking around, and I'll go to the wood shop that they have, and I'll say, hey guys, what if we did this and that's, or this or that? And
they're like, who is this dude?
I know. Well, at first what I realized is they're like, oh, it's the president's brother, so I have to answer him and I have to talk to him. And then I found out they're all like interrupting their day to do that. And I'm like, whoa, guys, no. I'm lowest on the totem pole here. And I go over to the metal shop, and I'm like, hey guys, what do you think about this? We could do this and this. And what I've actually found. So
really he's driving everyone else crazy instead of me.
It's like the equivalent of him coming in 10 times to say he loves you.
Yes,
exactly. They're like, get out of here.
Yeah. Well, what I have actually found is they're doing, as my brother always calls it, the unsexy side of manufacturing. It's just raw manufacturing. And so a lot of them I've actually found, they're very creative. They've got a lot of good ideas, but that's not what they do. They come in and they stamp that part every day. It's what they do, what's needed, it's the job. So when I come in, I'm like, hey guys, what if we did this? They're like, oh, wow. And so I think I get satisfied in that they're satisfied now.
Yeah.
And then she's happy because I don't come home talking about work.
You get to talk to other people so that you can just golf and enjoy dinner together. Yes. Well, what is one goal that you still hope to achieve yet? So I like asking this question. We're all about goals here, whether it be personal or professional. If you could either like create another product, or what is any goal that you two hope to achieve yet in your lifetime?
I have an answer.
Okay, go.
So we are, right now we have FLÍKR, we have this fireplace. I have lots of ideas for other things, but I think something that's always set with me is when Haley says, I joined your thing. And she did. She joined my thing, and it's now, her thing, but it was my thing. I have a secret desire to somehow launch Haley into design, be it clothing or something that she's passionate about. It's
not secret anymore.
Yeah, right.
No longer a secret desire.
But I think it would be fun to, and really the business is her baby. And so she does have her own thing, sure. But I think it would be really neat. She's invested a lot in this idea of mine. I think it'd be really neat to turn around the financial and or creative juices we have and availability we have to actually kind of launch something of hers. And I don't even know if she knows what that would be yet, but as far
as. Would you want to, Haley?
Oh yeah.
Okay. What would be your dream launch? What would you want? Like the sky's the limit.
I think honestly, like with my brain is just so FLÍKR.
Yeah.
So I think about a year ago, I was like, okay, I'm ready to do something else. Like I want to do something more, something with more purpose. Maybe it's just purposeful because I'm personally more passionate about it, or maybe it's, bettering the world in a more purposeful way. But I think about a year ago, and that's when I found Brand Builders, is when I realized like, I want to do something else eventually, or something next after this.
Yeah. Yeah.
But I think it's just this time of year, this year, that I'm like, okay, maybe I can start thinking of ideas, but then really FLÍKR just kind of takes all of the energy and brain capacity. So I don't really know, but I've always known, I always tell people, it's funny. The first book I ever bought myself when I was 10 years old was a kid's business book. And I saved up my birthday money for it.
Said very few people ever.
I know. And I remember where it was in Barnes and Noble, like super weird.
Hilarious.
And I remember like forever, for years, I would always try to come up with, especially on long car rides, I'd always try to come up with like business ideas of what I could invent. And my parents would always be like, Haley, like you could just run a coffee shop, or you could open a clothing store. I'm like, no, I want to make something. And they're like, it's never been done. And they're like, okay. And so I'd come up with ideas, and they're like, well, I think someone's already doing that, or, well, that might not be possible. And one of them was flying cars. And I thought I was a genius.
Listen, girl, I would not put it. I think flying cars, go for it.
I dig it.
I literally, though, I remember getting so frustrated one day, and I was like, you know what? I don't think anyone invented anything, because God invented it all first.
That's fair.
I mean, so frustrated that like I couldn't have a creative, like original idea. And then I met a guy that did, and I was like, woo, I get to run the business.
Aww. And then he inspires that creativity in you. Yeah.
But now I got to think of what my thing would be.
Well, there's a lot in there. I could honestly pick up this laptop we're recording on right now and give you a tour of the home. She has done incredibly well, and she would freak out. A, we're not going to do that. B, she'd freak out because it's not clean enough. But
now I want to do it.
Her aesthetic eye is very good. And I think one day something becoming just bigger than FLÍKR. And I think it's kind of a goal. You mentioned at the start of this, a FLÍKR Fire moment. Launching just that concept of what is a FLÍKR Fire moment. We get a lot of emails saying, hey, last night at dinner, we lit this up and my teenage kids put down their phones and stayed for like an hour longer.
Yeah.
That never happens. To us, that's this celebratory moment. And I think in a lot of ways, I'd say a year ago, Haley was just like I'm worn out. I'm mentally tired.
Mm-hmm. Sure,
we have sales, but what's the point? Are we just trying to make money and sell stuff and it's just this transactional thing? And what's the point of all? And then you get an email like that and you're like, that's really cool. That's really, really cool. The business obviously needs to make money for its own self, but when we hear these stories about people enjoying it, we got an email. I think you actually showed it to me, but it was several months ago. I think it was a lady's husband had just died.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And she had just gotten a FLÍKR, and she had written, it was a week later or something, but she said, every day I light this FLÍKR and I'm watching this living flame and I'm staring at that. And it's, and I don't know what it was for her. Was it meditative? I'm not sure, but we look at that and I can almost cry at that, because I'm like, someone has accepted this thing that we made into their home and into their life, and it's now impacting them. And it's like, wow. All right, I got energy for another day. Let's keep going.
Yeah, it's hard. It's that balance between you're filled with life by what your product is giving to other people, and then balancing that with making sure that you two are getting your own FLÍKR Fire moments, right? In order to feed back into, and that's the ongoing challenge is in any type of marriage in general, is finding that balance to fuel yourself. Well, we're going to take a quick break. And when we come back, stay tuned for a speed round of this or that with Travis and Haley. We're going to learn a little bit more about them. And we're going to hear their expert advice on how to turn your creation into a multi-million-dollar success when we come back from this break. You have tried it all. Worried you will never lose the extra weight or reclaim the energy you once enjoyed? Want to achieve fat loss without spending hours in a gym or eliminating entire food groups from your diet? Well, now you can. In the virtual Faster Way to Fat Loss with Anna, my 6-week fitness and nutrition program, you will learn how to pair effective 30-minute workouts with all-natural, evidence-based nutritional strategies to leverage what you eat and when you eat to reset your metabolism and burn fat fast, even that stubborn belly fat. I am a dual certified nurse practitioner passionate about teaching sustainable strategies to promote fat loss and prevent disease. I have cheered on thousands of clients who have done just that with the Faster Way program. In my 6-week program, the average client currently sheds 7 inches of body fat. 93% report more energy and 89% state that their mental health has improved. 100% of clients report they feel this program is sustainable. Curious to try the program but not sure if the strategies will work for you? Try the Faster Way strategies for free. Head to www.hammersandhugs.com and sign up for my free 7-day fat loss accelerator course today and start your own transformation story. All right, we are back here with Travis and Haley Seera. We are going to play this or that. It is this or that, 2 options. Don't think about it too hard. And first we'll start with Travis. Burger or hot dog?
Burger.
Haley, cake or pie?
Pie.
What's your favorite pie?
Ooh, something with like blackberries.
Ooh,
Or
I have not
ginger.
heard that answer a lot. Or what?
I make like a cranberry ginger snap pie. That's also really good.
Wow, that sounds amazing. Not heard those yet. I need those recipes. Travis, on a plane, crying baby beside you or an adult who doesn't stop talking?
Adult who doesn't stop talking because Bose invented noise canceling headphones.
You have to talk to them if they're talking.
I just ignore them.
He does ignore people on planes. It drives me crazy.
That's hilarious. Okay, Haley, what's worse, laundry or dishes?
Dishes.
Travis, LA or New York?
Wouldn't guess that. New York.
Oh, this is okay. We have rewind for
I'm
a
learning.
second.
Really?
This is
Take
great.
a moment.
I hate LA more.
And you took notes there, right? What Haley
Yeah.
does not like, laundry or dishes. Yeah.
Oh yeah,
I'm throwing you a ball here.
you are. This is when I need to do this like weekly.
Yeah,
This is
exactly.
good knowledge.
Marriage therapy. Haley, London or Paris?
Ooh, that's hard. I say London because I've been to Paris. Because I want to go to London.
Okay.
Otherwise, I don't
Okay.
know why.
Both of you. Toilet paper. This is a heated question. Crumple or fold?
Crumple.
Ooh, they have unity there. All right. They're both crumplers. That's probably why your marriage is so successful. Forget
Oh,
anything
it might
else.
be.
You guys both crumple.
And if I can actually interject, I will say,
Please.
I introduced her to baking soda toothpaste, like an Arm & Hammer baking soda toothpaste, and she loves it. And I cannot tell you the joy of unity when we take one toothpaste tube on a vacation or a trip. One toothpaste, and she loves the toothpaste. And then she'll try another toothpaste because we're
That's
out or
horrible.
something, and she's like, "Oh, it's awful." And I'm like, "I agree. It's so bad." I'm so
How
glad
many
you
couples
love
are
it.
using 2 different toothpastes? Is this a normal occurrence in a lot of homes?
Oh, no.
I have no idea. I think my parents did.
Interesting.
I'll have to ask them.
But you two are unified on
We're
the
unified in our toothpaste and toilet paper habits.
and
Apparently.
toilet paper crumpling. Well, you're passing on a legacy. So continue. Okay, Travis, personal yacht or private jet?
Golly bum.
Mhm. These are
Private jet.
life-changing questions. Private jet.
Private jet.
Okay, Haley, last question. Camping in the woods or by the beach?
In the woods.
Oh, okay. Are you not
I
a
don't
beach
like
person
sand.
or you just
I
love
don't
being in the
want
woods?
sand in my tent.
Yeah.
I love the ocean. I love being in the water. I hate sand. I'd
Yeah.
rather like a rocky cliff by the water.
I would rather a beach because you get the white noise of the waves all night long.
I do love the beach. Yeah, beach is always my answer. But it's funny, people do not like sand. I think too, if you didn't grow up going to the beach, I think it's a nostalgia thing.
Mhm.
I can see
Some
that.
people, it's just, yeah.
Well, I think
Well,
for Haley, sand
Go
is
ahead.
basically dirt.
No,
Yeah.
I'd rather have dirt.
And so it's like,
I'm good at dirt in the tent.
Well, that's the thing is like sand, you just cannot control. When it's in your car, it's everywhere. It's and so I think for her, it's dirt everywhere.
Yeah. Just wait till you have kids. I mean, it's literally never ending. They eat the sand and then you're still seeing the sand come back around through various processes, like a day later.
No.
It never ends.
No.
Oh boy.
It's a natural colon cleanse right there.
Oh my gosh. Yeah.
And they're never going to have kids now. All right. Well, we've been talking about dream products. So it's funny. I've mentioned this before. My dream product in life is this hands-free book stand and page turner that I can clip to my beach lounger, like, the pool loungers that lay back. Because when I'm done, I'm like done. I want to be in full lazy mode and my arms fall asleep when you hold a book over your head to read, when you're laying out. So that's my dream product. So a lot of people listening may, Travis's wheels are already spinning. I'm like watching him and he's like thinking about, what product would I use to create that?
Yeah.
Battery powered, solar powered. We're in the sun anyway.
It's a good idea.
Yeah, that's my life-changing product that the world needs. But I'm curious because a lot of people, this is like a surreal thought process for them. They might have a product in their head that they would love to create. Maybe they're creative at heart. But the thought of actually creating a product, going through the process, and then ultimately having it in retail stores around the world feels like a very unlikely, impossible goal. Tell me from like the ground level, what is the first step in getting your product from your head to reality? What is step number one?
You got to be able to prototype it. Just make one.
Now, does that mean for those of us who are ignorant to what prototype means, does that mean put it on paper? Like draw it out or what?
So I'm hands-on. I enjoy graphic design. I'm not an artist. And so I'm a terrible designer in that sense.
Same.
I need to have it physically made.
Make some version.
So even if it's a fireplace, make it out of wood. Can you just do it, make a shape, and see if you like it. And honestly, I would even say, and of course, this is, if we're assuming a physical product in the physical product realm, 3D printers have revolutionized that. And if you can't design in 3D, which can be very difficult, you can, there's services online, hire somebody. You can,
and
just
if you don't have a 3D
freelance.
printer, you can also.
A lot of local libraries. Local libraries have 3D printers.
Interesting. Local libraries.
Yeah.
Okay.
We're here in Chattanooga, Tennessee. Our local library, I think, has 4, and you just rent time on it, and you got to pay for the plastic filament, maybe $10, but it gives you access to it. And so I think printing it and just having that concept, there are a lot of things that I've thought of in different shapes or different products. Once it's actual, you're like, oh, no, that does not work. So I think just getting, and that's for me, I'm hands-on. I think for a lot of people, getting it written down may work well, kind of a schematic of it, but I encourage, if just make one. We'll worry about making 10 or hundreds or thousands later. That's a manufacturing problem. Right now, let's just get it out of your head and actually have an object.
Yeah. Now, so let's say, because you just threw out a lot of concepts there, 3D design, the printer concept, the graphic design concept. So let's say you're somebody like me who terrible at 3D design. I can't draw to save my life. I'm definitely a creative at heart. I've got a million ideas floating through my head. I have no idea what a 3D printer even looks like. Nor would I know how to use one. So let's say somebody listening is like me. They have a dream product. They'd love to take step number one. So you said a library, but who would be somebody that they could contact to help bring what's in their head to life? Like, who would be people that would do that? Who would you Google?
I feel like it depends on what level of, if you're kind of needing an overall person, or if you're like, I just know I need a designer, or I know I need someone that can, put this idea into schematics or this idea into a 3D printer, like Upwork.
Upwork.com. On Upwork, you hire, their freelancers are around the world. So you need a cartoon of your kid made. Okay. Send somebody a picture of your kid, and for $45, they'll make it a cartoon, send it back.
I would like a prototype of my child. I need to see if this is going to work out.
Yeah, I guess.
Before I make 3 more of them,
oh my word,
see if this one will work.
Yeah. Boy, genome splicing. That's that. I think in many ways, I think all of us know someone who can do something. It sounds like you rely on your husband a little bit for some of this, but.
Oh yeah. Well, he actually is he's a computer programming teacher. He does 3D print. Like he's definitely,
he's on it.
He could do all that kind of thing. I'm just wondering, for somebody who would have some idea in their head and is just curious how it even gets started, I think this is helpful. So for any of you watching and listening, Upwork.com.
Upwork.com. There's another
Upward or Upwork?
Work with a K.
Work. Yep.
Okay. There's another called Fiverr.com. It's 5 with 2 R's. So FIVERR.com. That's another kind of version of Upwork. There's a lot of things out there like that. I think too, though, and it's the fact we don't design in a vacuum. So talk to your friends about it. Talk to if you say have an idea for a fireplace, and you have constraints, be it in your wall or something. First, tell your husband, then tell your friends. Over a glass of wine, talk about your idea, because odds are you're going to run across someone. Odds are one of your friends can draw it out on a napkin. I have a retired 65-year-old buddy in Seattle. We talk, 2 hours a week on the phone. Even now, I left Seattle 5 years ago, and even now we still talk on the phone. He flew to my wedding. He's just awesome man, loving his wife, and he was an electrical engineer, so he can draw very well. Schematics. And so I'm brainstorming with him this fairy tale concept of this fireplace I've thought of. Well, he immediately starts drawing, just doodling, and he hands it to me. And I'm like, no, not that. Change that.
Right.
And so then it's like, we realize we want it to be roughly 5 inches in diameter. Okay. Well, now I'm going to walk in this. Oh, I should have said this first.
Hey, Haley's like, yes.
Walk into Lowe's or Home Depot.
Yeah.
And just walk around. There's rope, turnbuckles, pulleys, wood, metal, sheet metal, round metal, square metal. It depends on what you're making, but I have spent over the past years the equivalent of days walking around, and someone will walk out very helpfully, like, "Hi, can I help you with something?" And I'm like,
I have no idea.
No. They're like, "Well, what are you looking for?" I don't know, but something. And so, for me, when I'm dealing, obviously we're dealing with cement. So I'm walking around looking at containers. TJ Maxx. I've done the same thing at TJ Maxx. I walk around and I go back to their kitchen area, because cement releases very well out of plastic. Plastic is not porous, and so it doesn't grab it, so it can pop out easily. So I'm just looking at shapes. I'm just looking at a bunch of different shapes. Now, when I say prototype your idea, I'm not going to, if I need to sell 10,000 of those shapes, I'm not going to go to TJ Maxx and buy 10,000 bowls or whatever. That's not sustainable. That's not doable. But for one, you do it for one. And I've actually found with Haley, she'll have a design idea, be it graphic or physical. And so I'll make it. And it's my interpretation of what she said. And sometimes she looks at it and she's like, "Oh, no, not that." And I'm like, "I did exactly what you said." And she's like, yeah, but now that I'm seeing it, no, not that.
See it.
And you go back and forth. And that's why I often say, even if it's made out of an object that isn't the final product, just try it.
Right. So that prototype, so you have created some sort of physical representation of what is in your head. So for those of you watching and listening, that is step number 1. Doesn't matter how pretty or not pretty it looks, just create some sort of physical representation of what you have in your head, or have somebody who is very hands-on and creative do it for you and work together with them. So you have this prototype, which is what we call prototype, just what they call prototype. I don't know what I'm talking about, but so you take this, and then how do you infuse kind of the science into the products and the materials and what you need to create it into the final product? Like, what is the next step with that prototype? Because again, for those of us that don't know what we're doing, where do you go with that?
It definitely depends on what you're trying to do. And I think too, looking at what is your passion in this. So it sounds like your passion in a page turning book is the ease that would give you. And it does solve a somewhat practical problem. It's not like you're picturing holding a book up. I'm picturing holding
You're
a
being
phone.
very generous with my
And it's
product.
actually-
I don't know how practical the problem is that my arms fall asleep when I'm holding a book up above my face.
It happens to everyone.
It's a thing that happens,
Uh-huh.
and we relate with that idea. So it's practical. But I
Love
think
it.
so.
Okay.
So I would ask, what's your goal? Now, my goal in that, yes, it's to solve a practical problem, but honestly, I'm as interested in the creation and the creativity as I
Right.
am in final products.
Right.
You know, that this motorcycle I worked on back in the day, I fixed it up. I loved it. It was perfect. So I sold it and started over.
Yeah.
My discontentment in that arena was not that I had an ugly motorcycle and I wanted a pretty motorcycle. It was, this motorcycle is ugly and I love the challenge of making it pretty. So
Right.
for you may not want the material, the science, the material handling, the
Right.
creation. You don't care. You want the final product.
Yeah. I want the
so-
final product.
But I
Right.
also feel like the next step would be more, because you already have the idea. So it's more so, I think, going into, are there, standards and regulations for a product of the nature that you're making? Are you going to need to get trademarks? Could you patent it? Because you want to get going on all of that super quick. As far as like you want to have a patent kind of going typically before you're really like launching a product.
So I can tell you right now, we're going to end up at the middle letter. I'm starting from A, she's starting from Z.
Yeah, well, I'm like, you're not answering her
This
question
is perfect. We need the whole alphabet, guys. So this is
We did
great.
hold on, but I can tell from the very subtle noises she's making. She wants me to stop talking
Yeah,
because
like
she thinks I'm off base.
You're way off base.
And she's already going into patents. And I'm like, we don't even have a prototype yet. We're not going into
No,
patents
but
yet.
we got the prototype. So now what? That's what she said.
This is why we need both of them, okay? Because we
There
have
you
the
go.
creative aspect over here. So you want to start to put all these products and play with the ideas is what I'm
Yep.
hearing from Travis. Try
Yep.
different, go through Home Depot. And so in my case, let's use my product, for example, we could look at different plastics, like how well would plastic work? Or maybe we do a metal arm and maybe we do wood.
Yeah.
Whatever. So I hear what you're saying. So play with different materials to get a sense of what would maybe work best. But I also hear what Haley is saying in that if you still need to have like kind of the business people in your life speaking to where the logistics might need to go with this product. So there's still that sense of, yes, a lot of logistics. So now my question is, again, because we're not an island, who are the kinds of people, again, that you might Google who need to come into this conversation to help you physically create the product if you are not creative? And then who are the people you need to be Googling to give you the business understanding of what needs to happen? Who am I Googling to make my dream product come true? My
Gosh.
page turner.
A lot in some ways. So I'll probably answer your question. It might take me a minute to get there. We'll see how this goes.
We're going to start on letter G. All right.
Okay.
Go ahead.
I think in many ways it's you need to identify what you want this to be. Do you
Yeah.
want this to be a multi-million-dollar company? All right, then you're going to need to get a tax attorney eventually. Probably start out with a good bookkeeper. A big difference between a bookkeeper
But not to
and an
make it
accountant.
happen. That's to run the business.
That's run the business,
This
but
is how to make it happen.
but if you're trying to do that, you're going to want to be an LLC because you're going to make a lot of money, hopefully. And so
Mhm.
I think there's kind of two ways to do a business. We did it. We had a product. We're still trying to make a vision statement.
Yeah.
I talk to a lot of people and they're just out of business school and they have this incredible business plan and they
Yeah.
have no business. And I'm
We
like,
have a business and we're like playing catch up on the business plan.
Right.
I hear you. I hear you.
and so in some ways, I'm like, if I could go back and I never had the goal to make this as massive as it is. That was never the
Right,
purpose.
right,
The purpose was to make
right.
something
Which
for me.
I think most don't. In fairness, I think most don't. Like I do agree. I think probably who we're speaking to initially is the dreamer who would love to try and see what happens. And I agree with both of your points. It's something you need to think about, kind of in the long term. Okay, if this does really work out well,
Mhm.
are you prepared with this business side? Like just, keep that in the back of your mind. That's going to come, which includes the LLC and maybe an IP lawyer or somebody to like get your trademarks and everything. But
as far as Google, sorry to cut in, as far as Googling,
do it.
The whole idea of we're not islands. You want to do a page turner. So you're thinking about, okay, what are the elements in this? I need something that holds a book. I would start at very basic Googly things. Book holder, image search. See what's out there.
Yeah.
See if there's
people that can bring in to help.
Yeah. And as far as people, I'm not sure.
Like,
but
for instance, even what's cool is we recently had a guy reach out that is working on certain products that he thinks we have like his product is very different than us, but there's an element about our product that he wants to incorporate into his, and he just can't figure it out. And so he reached out to us asking us to sign NDAs and non-competes and things so that he could have an open conversation to hopefully learn something from us. So I think also, you know, finding people that are doing things maybe similar to you, but not quite the same.
That was better advice. Do that.
And reach out.
Do that.
And reaching out to them, you know, obviously getting your business side of contacts of people and accountants and, you know, kind of things in place. But as far as like helping the actual process or stumps you may have, I think looking for people that are doing something similar, but not quite, that you could have sign like an NDA for you. And then you can have like open conversations about.
So an NDA is a non-disclosure agreement. Basically means he has now told me, we chatted on the phone for about an hour last week. I'm not. Chatted for about an hour.
She was like, this is what this means.
Chatted for about an hour last week. And because I'm a creator, I thoroughly enjoyed it. Now, you know, a lot of people running business, they don't have time to chat with a random person for an hour, but I kind of fed off of that and a lot of back and forth. And so non-disclosure means I don't talk about it. And a non-compete means I don't steal his idea. And I just make it. So, you know, you can nail some of those down, but I would even, you know, and I don't know if you've had people reach out, you have a successful podcast. People might reach out to you and say, hey, I'm thinking about getting into podcasting. What do you think? And now some of that you're like, listen, I'd love to respond to all those. I just don't have time. But at the same time, there's something in doing this that feeds you. And so helping someone else along the way also actually kind of feeds you. And so I think often the person you're Googling, you find a local shop, find an international, they don't have to be local, find a small shop, small business is doing something similar.
Even if the product isn't similar to you on the business side, we learned so much in the beginning, just talking to other businesses, whether it was trade shows or, you know, we've even had businesses reach out to, I haven't personally done it, but businesses will reach out to us saying, hey, we love the way you guys are doing this, or we see you're on these different websites. Do you have any advice? How did you get there? You know, stuff like that. And I'm often, when I have time, willing to have those conversations with people. And then we've also learned a lot the same way. So.
Well, I love that. I think it's helpful just, you know, to understand the fact is if you have a dream product in your head, first of all, it's not impossible to get it into stores one day. That is not an impossible reality. People are doing it every day. So if you have that dream, go for it. Get a prototype. And then I'm bringing it to the M here, but you know, I think if you know that your product could be made out of plastic or it could be made out of wood, like find a woodworker. If it's made out of metal, find, you know, somebody who is, you know, dealing with metal and whatever the case may be, find that creative if you can't do it with your own hands, or, you know, channel Travis and wander around Home Depot. And you might even meet somebody in the Home Depot aisle who can make your product for you. So anyway, I love that. I love that. The fact is, it is possible. Your dreams can come true. So just because you don't know how the process works, don't be afraid to learn and to try. We're going to have a FLÍKR Fire moment here. I have my little things. Hopefully I don't burn my house down. All right. So those of you watching, this is all you need to light your fire. This fire, I should say. Isopropyl alcohol. And I have my little mini marshmallows.
Oh, nice.
I've not done this yet. So this is live TV.
I'll say the minis are great though. So I'll critique you a little bit there. The minis are great because you can put a whole bunch of them on there because I don't know about everybody else, but for me, the goodness of roasting a marshmallow is the charred sugar on the outside. The gooey inside is not my favorite. So you
that's
stick a whole
weird.
bunch of the mini guys on there and you get a ton of charged surface area in
Interesting.
comparison to gooey center ratio.
Well, I have 2. So this ratio is better than 1
That'll
at
do.
least.
There you
Yeah.
go.
And let's hope I don't burn my hand off here. When I lit this actually for the first time, my husband walked in, he said, "Whoa, that's a huge candle." I said, it's bigger than a candle, smaller than a fire.
Look at you.
Per the box.
I do joke with people. I had a cousin once. We were at a family reunion thing several months ago, and he's living in Sweden right now. And there you go.
Look at that.
That's amazing. That's beautiful.
Keep talking. I'm roasting my marshmallows.
You're good. He's living in Sweden right now, and we haven't caught up in a long time. And so we're at this family reunion, and he goes, Travis, hey man, so are you still making those little candle things? And I was like, I kind of want to punch you.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. We do confuse people, especially kind of early to market, early getting this into the marketplace. We confuse people because we say it's a fireplace, and people look at it and they say, no, it's not. And I'm like, well,
it's a tabletop fireplace. That's
exactly.
To me, that's what it is it's, we could literally put this on our tabletop and my kids could all roast marshmallows on it.
Yeah.
The other thing that I love, I'm totally going to burn my marshmallows. The other thing that I love about it is the fact that there's no soot.
Yeah.
There's no soot from these.
Yep. So it's, so isopropyl alcohol, it is, I could go down a rabbit hole of science explanations here.
It is clean burning. The only off-gassing is carbon dioxide and water vapor.
Yep.
So it's only going to put soot where the flame touches inside of the burn chamber. Done.
No, fun science fact of the day.
Oh, like this is fun science.
That's looking good
right here.
That's looking good.
Look at that.
I love it.
I could have done this much better, but look at that beautiful
lovely
chart. Yeah.
And we tell people all the time, if you can stab it on a stick, you can roast it.
Mm-hmm.
So mini hot dogs.
If you can stab it on a stick, you can roast it. Let's get that quote.
We've done mini hot dogs, pineapple chunks.
I love it.
Pepper. It's
and one of my
fun.
questions was going to be, does the alcohol taste weird? Now,
No.
I only have 60% of my taste back because I had COVID and lost my. Thankfully, it was very mild, but I don't taste any strange.
No. So it tastes just like it would over a campfire.
There's some heat here too.
Yeah. The over a campfire, what you're tasting is the carbon. And so it's the same thing roasting it over the fireplace. So it's actually cleaner. It's a more clean burn than like doing it over a campfire, since you don't know if there's anything sprayed on the logs or there's bugs in the logs or,
algae,
dirt in the leaves,
moss. Dirt.
But it tastes like
it's so cute.
And so we're going to have you try something. Do you have a small drinks coaster or something on your desk?
Plate or
a plate?
I just had, this is what I was going to use to put the flame out.
Perfect.
It's a little metal cap.
Go for it.
Oh, is that what you want me to do? Okay. So if this is, for those of you watching here, this is just like a little metal, it actually goes on a candle. So I'm going to go with this. And that's it. It's really amazing. I absolutely love it. I love it. I have already, so my plan is, let me tell you all how I'm going to use this. I am actually going to give this to my kids for Christmas.
Oh.
And they don't know that yet. So it's going to get wrapped underneath the tree. And one of the things that we're going to do then on Christmas as a family is we're going to have indoor s'mores. And for anybody listening and watching who has young kids, this is going to be like, what? Mind exploding that we can do indoor s'mores. So there's so many things with this. I absolutely love the FLÍKR Fire moments idea. I love fires. So one more is perfect. And now I can put it on my tabletop, but I love your vision. And I love the way that you're so passionate about sharing people's FLÍKR Fire moments and being intentional with your product. And I pray God's continued blessing over your business, over your marriage, that you guys get lots of your own FLÍKR Fire moments and keep inspiring everyone else. It's been an honor to have you guys.
Anna, thank you so much.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for joining us for this episode of the Imperfectly Empowered podcast. It is my honor to be here with you. I am so grateful for each and every one of you. If you are watching on YouTube, be sure to click the subscribe button below so you don't miss a show, and leave a comment with your thoughts from today's episode below. If you are listening via your preferred podcasting platform, would you help keep us on the air by rating our show and leaving an honest review of your thoughts from today? In case you haven't heard it lately, your story matters and you are loved. This is your host, Anna Fulmer, and I will see you here next time on the Imperfectly Empowered podcast.